Good evening to everyone. Welcome to our December monthly market outlook call. Next slide, please. If you look at global economy, growth is recovering because governments and central banks both have supported growth through easy fiscal and monetary policy. India will occupy one of the fastest growing economy in the world title in calendar year 2022 or FY 2023. Next slide, please. If we look at various data across various parts of the world, a lot of them has turned to green and bearing few numbers which are still red. Overall momentum has gained. The manufacturing expansion is gaining momentum. Next slide, please. This is also resulting into higher capital expenditure as companies are sitting on cash, prices are rising, and there is strong demand. Next slide, please. If we look at the unemployment data in US, the numbers have been consistently falling after the pandemic, and today it is at one of the lowest levels in decades. This has also resulted into inflation rising across most parts of the world, and various central banks in emerging market especially have started raising rates, whereas some developed market banks will follow them. In terms of equity market, growth stocks have outperformed value stocks over a long period of time. And as of today, you can see that growth stocks continue to trade at a premium to value stocks. The rising tide lifts all boat, and many stocks with negative earnings have also grown to their higher level. Falling interest rates and high liquidity have supported stocks which were more prone to interest rate movement, and stocks which benefit from falling bond yields have outperformed stocks which underperform when bond yield rises. In this kind of environment, what we are seeing is that there is divergence happening between index and rest of the constituents. Many companies have fallen by 30 to 80% from their top, whereas index has almost remained unchanged. Now here, some startup companies, some private equity companies, some China-related companies, those stocks have fallen far more. So maybe it is fair to say that globally, now people have started focusing more on business and path to profitability than just investing in concepts. Omicron started as a scare, but at least till now, whatever data is available is portraying that it is not going to result into major disruption or a major wave. The data on Omicron, as I mentioned earlier, is suggesting that it is a mild variant. Coming to Indian economy, the headlines in November 21 has been generally positive. Manufacturing PMI at 57 plus, net direct tax revenue up 68%, fiscal deficit lower than is expected to be lower than budgeted estimate. Exports up 43%, even though imports were also up. Credit card spend crossing rupees 1 trillion in a month. India gaining market share in food exports, and retail inflation remaining within RBI's comfort zone. Fortunately for India, even with Omicron, the active cases have remained below 1 lakh. And yesterday we did almost 90 lakh vaccination, creating a protection against the next wave. Activity levels across investments and government spending is now above pre-pandemic level. This is reflected in business resumption index touching 114.9 from bottom of 63.2 in second wave. If we look at various high frequency indicators like UPI transactions, ETC collections, imports, e-way bill volumes, exports, coal production, freight traffic, fertilizer sales, 19 out of 22 indicators are now showing positive momentum, and only 3 indicators like air passenger and domestic auto sales, which are showing negative momentum. Air passenger traffic is lower than pre-pandemic thanks to COVID restrictions, and domestic auto sales are down thanks to the chip shortages. But it is fair to say that overall economy has picked up momentum, and we are seeing V-shaped recovery in many segments and K-shaped recovery in few segments. If we look at the cycle of growth, factors of growth, both investments and consumption, both have started picking momentum. Government consumption also is picking momentum, and this bodes well for the future. While RBI has not revised GDP growth target for FY22, we believe there is some room for upside. Investments, we have been talking about leading the recovery for some time through our call on industrials and capital goods. It was reflected in second quarter GDP data. Manufacturing activity in second quarter also turned positive after pandemic impact. PLI scheme, we have been talking about how good it will be for future growth of India. This is one data about potential employment generation in PLI scheme. While the numbers are a little bit on the smaller font, about 150,000 crore worth of investment is going to create about 1 crore direct jobs and 3.4 crore indirect jobs. Many of these jobs and investments are already working or in the pipeline, and hence PLI scheme will become growth differentiator in the days to come. Overall, agriculture growth has been supportive for GDP. GST collections have remained consistently above 1 lakh crore in last 2 months. Private equity investments have been fairly positive. In terms of creation of unicorn, calendar year 2021, India has surpassed China, and it's a stark reversal compared to 2018 and 19. The government coffers are filled with higher tax collection. The corporate India is also looking to spend money on capital expenditure. overall corporate profitability, which was witnessing a downtrend from 2008 all the way up to 2020, is now reversing. उनका 12 साल का वनवास अब खत्म हो रहा है. The profit growth is accompanied by improvement in return on equity, from having 20% plus return on equity for listed India. We had fallen down to as low as mid single digits, and now we are going back towards double digits. This is also possible as corporate India has deleveraged its balance sheet, and now they are having cash surplus to invest for the future. If we come to the equity markets in the backdrop of global and local economy, the small and mid cap continued to outperform large cap. Small caps over last 12 months have delivered almost double the return of large cap. Mid caps have started closing gap vis-a-vis small caps in terms of performance. The performance on a sectoral basis has been fairly concentrated. Metals, real estate, and technology have been three big contributors to performance. FPIs, while they are seller in the month of October, November, and December, they have been net buyers on a 12-month basis. Retail investors are standing firmly against FPIs, and in last 1 month or so, we have seen that at 17,500 Nifty, FPI selling picks up, and at 17,000 Nifty, retail investors buying picks up. One of the reasons why FPIs are selling so aggressively is this massive outperformance of India in MSCI Emerging Market Index. From having about 8% weight, we have moved all the way to 12% through sheer outperformance. And with this kind of 50% plus outperformance, a lot of investors are taking profit. At this point of time, market looks from a valuation point of view neutral, and the momentum also is fairly neutral in terms of range bound index. On a market cap to GDP ratio against historical average of 76%, at 112%, it looks little bit high, but compared to global market cap to GDP ratio of 138%, this looks reasonably priced. From a PE point of view, we are marginal premium over historical long average, and on a price to book also, we are at marginal premium over long-term average. However, with drop in interest rates, these valuations are justifiable. Corporate India continues to declare significantly superior results. For FY21, Nifty 50 companies' earning per share was 542, driven by cost cut, tax benefits, interest rate reduction, debt reduction, and tighter working capital. In the first 6 months of current year, they are on course to achieve almost 30% plus earnings growth, with earning ranging between 725 rupees to 750 rupees. FY23 earnings growth is expected to be another 20% based on operating leverage, and we could be looking at earning of anywhere between 850 to 875 rupees. This gives a forward PE ratio of about 20 times for FY23. The numbers reported by Corporate India for September quarter has been fantastic. And on these numbers, one can safely say that the downside of the market will be limited. Of course, if there is incessant selling or third wave of COVID, then those numbers can change temporarily. But at least from a fundamental point of view, this looks like a fairly priced market. Our view remains same, marginal underweight on small and mid cap because of their valuation, and marginal overweight on large cap. But overall, this is time to be neutral to equity as an asset allocation, as it is fairly priced. The other way to look at valuation is also excesses which happens in NFTs and cryptos and those kind of market. Someone has paid $650,000 for a yacht in metaverse like this. Now, if this things can get valued at $650,000, then certainly our markets continue to remain reasonable. There are certain concerns in the market. The most important concern is Omicron. But fortunately, all the data received so far shows that this is a mild variant, and hopefully this will not result into disruption. Our battle continues to remain with Delta variant. The second worry is related to inflation. Fortunately, inflation in India remains within RBI's comfort zone. For last 3 months, our inflation data is coming lower than American inflation data. And yet we have to worry about global inflation. If inflation continues to rise, someday central bankers will have to raise interest rates. They'll have to take away liquidity. And both of that steps will have direct impact on equity valuation. We believe inflation, while it will remain elevated over next 2 to 3 quarters, it will not go out of control. And hence, fear of inflation may create temporary fall or correction in market, but not permanent damage. As I mentioned earlier, FPIs are sellers in Indian market. This is primarily driven by long China, short India call, because we have outperformed China by a big margin. Some of the large global brokerage houses like UBS, Morgan Stanley, Nomura have given call on long China, short India trade. At the end of the day, I would like all of you to remember what John Chambers talked about India. If I'm betting on one country in Asia, it's India. If I'm betting on 2 countries in Asia, it is India twice. In this market, from an equity investment opportunity point of view, a large cap fund like Kotak Blue Chip will be appropriate. By and large, it continues to deliver alpha or value add to investors. We also remain bullish on capital goods and industrial sector, and Kotak Infrastructure and Economic Reform Fund is a pure infrastructure fund for customers who just want one fund where they can park their money, invest their money, and forget about it. Kotak Multi-Asset Allocator Fund will be appropriate. It has consistently generated positive alpha since inception, and it has delivered double-digit return thanks to its call on equity market. This is again a reflection of multi-asset allocator fund. It's fill it, shut it, forget it kind of fund. Its current equity allocation in multi-asset allocator is around 50%. This we have already talked about. Innovation also is an important element of investments. And we have Kotak Pioneer Fund, which has now completed roughly about 2 years. And this fund has also created a blazing track record. We also launched Wellington Global Innovation Fund. this fund also is appropriate for global diversification. In terms of investment in gold compared to equity market, it appears fairly attractive. While it has remained in that range for a long period of time, quite likely that if central bankers around the world raises interest rates and tighten liquidity, gold prices will get impacted. But relative to equity, relative to NFT, and relative to inflationary pressure, gold may get some allocation. Coming to fixed income market, it's a range bound market and hence carry strategy is order of the day. RBI has kept banking system liquid and yet absorbed additional liquidity through OMOs, VRRs, and other tools. Fortunately for us, inflation continues to remain within RBI's comfort zone, while the core inflation is at around 6%. The headline inflation, thanks to bumper Kharif crop, remains at 4.5%. The yield curve of India is discounting at least 2 to 3 rate hikes and continues to remain one of the steepest in whole of Asia. We believe the segment between 1 year to 6 year discounts bulk of the potential rate hike which may happen in future, and this steepness compared to the flatness after 15 years gives confidence that this part of the curve, 1 to 7 year, probably is better place to be invested into. SDL continues to give higher carry, and across our portfolios, you will see some allocation to SDLs to benefit from this. RBI continues to do fantastic job. They are managing multiple balls at the same time, and so far they haven't dropped even one ball. Overall, on the fixed income market side, we believe there will be a range bound market. RBI will first raise reverse repo rates and reduce the corridor or difference between reverse repo rate and repo rate. Thereafter, they will change policy stance from accommodative to neutral, and thereafter they will raise repo rates. And as I mentioned, market has already discounted between 2 to 3 repo rate hikes in the year to come. So to a great extent, market is running ahead of RBI in policy action format. In current scenario, if you are investing in debt market, you are investing for carry, not for capital appreciation. And within that segment, you have to ensure that you are investing in those funds whose time horizon or investment maturity matches with your investment horizon. A Kotak Gilt Fund is appropriate for 12 to 18 months investment. This is a kind of roll down strategy between SDLs and floating rate bonds. And this again creates a mechanism where in rising interest rate environment, this fund can outperform the benchmark index and add value to customers. Floating rate bonds are generally the bonds where coupon itself rises when interest rates are moved up because of their floating nature, and hence capital loss on floating rate bond in a rising interest rate environment is far lower compared to fixed rate bond. Kotak Dynamic Bond Fund is something which can be considered to play on interest rate movement. For debt investors, hybrid fund also is something which can be looked at. Kotak Debt Hybrid Fund has allocation between 15 to 25% in equity. Kotak Equity Savings has equity allocation between 20 to 50%, and Kotak Equity Hybrid Scheme, which is balanced fund, has about 70% allocation to equity. All these funds have delivered higher single digit or low double digit return over last 5-7 years, and by and large they have added value, alpha, to investors. For debt investors who want some sort of asset allocation, this could be appropriate. In a very expensive market, you can come to Kotak Debt Hybrid Fund, which is 10 to 25% equity. In a more fairly valued market, one can come into Kotak Equity Hybrid Fund, which is 65 to 80% equity. And in a very, very cheap market, one can look at large cap fund like Kotak Blue Chip, which is 80 to 100% equity. Similar model is also followed by Kotak Multi-Asset Allocator Fund, which divides between debt, equity, and gold as an asset class. This is the way whereby debt investors, by assuming some extra risk over fixed income, will be able to generate additional return, which will outperform inflation.
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.